So, a question for all of you. What's your name and how old are you?
Okay, I'll start. I'm the eldest, right? My name is Gian Kanwar. I'm 78.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep, yep.
No, I'm Randhir Kanwar, and I'm 76.
Okay.
I'm Raghbir Kanwar, and I'm 29, but nobody believes me. So I'll have to tell my real age now. So four.
And where are you from originally?
Where from? You, me, or Gian?
Yeah.
We are actually from Jalandhar, Punjab.
Yeah. And which village?
We didn't live. I mean, my father was obviously born in Basla near Jalandhar, but he actually was in the army, so we actually stayed with him, you know, all the time. Myself, I'm the eldest, so in those days, what used to happen was the girls used to go back to the maternal home for the first child to be born. So I was actually born in Eastpur, in Hushar, in Husharpur, right?
Yeah.
And the other two brothers obviously were born in Jalandhar.
Okay.
And then we have a sister. She's called Satish. And she's the youngest. Are you okay?
Sorry, it's my phone.
The sister is the youngest. She was born in 1950, and she was born in Meerut when our father was in the army.
Okay. And what was life like in India for you? Do you have any strong memories of that time, or of growing up together?
The life in India, I mean, my father came before us. We came in 1957, right?
Okay.
And so he came about 2.5 years before us. And then in those days, all the people who came early on, their aim was to earn the money, go back home eventually, right? So we stayed there without him for about 2.5 years. In Jalandhar.
Yeah. And how was that, staying without your dad for quite a significant time period?
No, it wasn't too bad, because what happened was because we were in the army quarters, right? And therefore we did not really notice it, because he used to come home anyway.
Okay.
So he wasn't that whether we were in Jalandhar, whether we were in Meerut, you found that he was always with us.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
when he came to England,
yeah, that's it.
Is that the army? Is that the army encampment when you go into Jalandhar, the BSF chowk and near there?
Army Kent. There again.
Jalandhar Cantonment.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember it, but yes.
Well, we did live in Jalandhar, Kent, but before that, we actually lived in Meerut, Kent.
Meerut, Kent. All right.
Right.
Yeah, Kent is cantonment. I think that's what they call it. So they shorten it for Kent.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And what do you remember from the journey from India to England? Did you all travel at the same time and together?
I'll answer that question for you. We actually left Jalandhar, and what happened was October 1956. and we went to Panipat to my uncle's house. And in October 56, the Suez Canal problem happened at that time, and the Suez Canal was bombed by the British, so we could not actually fly at that time, and we went back to Jalandhar for 4 months before we decided to come to UK. Then we came at the end of February. We actually flew by 57, February 57. We flew from Delhi to Karachi, and we stayed overnight by PIA, that's the Pakistan International Airways. And then, having stayed the night over there, early morning we left, and then we stopped in Cairo, and then Geneva, and then we landed in Heathrow.
That's quite a long journey with lots of stops in. Were you traveling?
Yeah. The thing was, in those days, we didn't have those,
long flights.
The planes couldn't fly that far without refueling.
Yeah. And did you travel with your mother or?
We would travel. Yeah, my mother and the 4 of us, we all traveled together.
Yes.
And when you were traveling, did you, obviously you were still quite young, but did you think, oh, I'm leaving India and I won't be back for a while, or I don't want to leave my friends and my family? How did it make you feel leaving?
I think we were looking forward to it. I think,
really? Wow.
Yeah, because we were young, and
actually
our father was already here, so we were really looking forward to join him here. So we were having a joyful time, looking forward to come over to UK.
And what about your mother? Because your mother's leaving her parents, who are still back in Hoshiarpur, and maybe your grandparents in Jalandhar.
Apparently, our Nani ji was still in Eastport, and our Dadiji, she used to stay with us in Jalandhar with us, and then. But the thing was, the most important factor was to join the family here in UK. So that was the main reason. So we were looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So it was joyful for the whole family, really.
Okay. And is there anybody you missed when you came over here? What was there? People talk about fond memories. What fond memories did you have, especially in the early days?
Yeah, definitely we did miss quite a few of our relatives who were still there. Our chachas and tayas and fuffas and mamas, all those people were there. And obviously our cousins as well. So majority of them were still there. And so we were from the first batch really to come over.
What did you expect from England? Did you have a picture in your head, or you thought it was going to be a certain way? Did it live up to what you thought it would be like?
I would say we didn't have any picture in our minds. I remember my dad kept on saying, I'm going to come back, and, give me another, 1 year. And then eventually it got to about a couple of years. And then he still hadn't made up his mind about coming back. And then eventually he said, okay, you can come over. And then I clearly remember my mother asked, being the eldest, she asked me, what shall we do? I said, we go.
Oh.
And but we obviously didn't have any picture of UK at that time in our mind, no.
Yeah.
No expectations, no streets paved with gold. Like if you talk to people now back in India. No, there was one other thing, Gian, if I remember correctly, Gian. You said the education system in England was excellent.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we knew things were better here than over there. Yeah.
Right? So that was one reason.
Like Jan was saying earlier on, the whole idea was here to come over and for us, all us to get education, get educated, and then go back to India and settle again. But things didn't work out like that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
sorry.
There was a one thing that we did was that we used to hear about England was very, very people are very trustworthy and things like that. So they said you get your milk delivered at the door and you leave the money outside and they just collect it. They collect the money and leave your milk and it doesn't get stolen. And that was true.
So you'd heard quite good things then, really. It was, an opportunity. So when you got to the UK then, all three of you went into the schooling system?
Yes, all four of us.
Oh, yeah, your sister included. Yeah. How was that? Could you speak any English? Had you learned any English at school?
The only person actually, as far as I remember, was I think my eldest brother probably knew English a little bit. And I didn't know. My sister, youngest sister, she used to go to a school, English school in India, and she was the youngest. So she learned a little bit. But it didn't take long for us, all of us, to pick up. It was hard, but we picked it up very well. I think Gian can say something on that as well.
I think being the eldest, I was 14 at that time. And obviously I found it difficult because you're in a class where everybody spoke English and you couldn't speak English and you didn't know enough English. So our teachers were helpful, I remember. And then the headmasters were very, very helpful. I got to the age of 16 and I was told, you're going to do an apprenticeship. And I turned around to my dad. I said, look, I don't want to do apprenticeship. I want to go to university. So the school actually didn't do what they call like a GCSE, O levels in those days. The schools were, so they didn't even have a fifth form at that time. So I stayed on with the school. We actually then formed a fifth form where there were only 4 of us in the class. And so that was...
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I started doing my O levels, and having done the O levels, they obviously didn't have the facility to do A levels. So there was a Leamington College for Boys, which was a grammar school in Leamington. So I got transferred to that for my sixth form. And I actually was finding difficult in thinking in English. I was still thinking more in Punjabi or Hindi at that time. So I was still translating, whenever we spoke. And it wasn't until I was in the sixth form in the first year, suddenly something clicked and I was able to think bilingual.
Yeah. Did you have any problems when you came to school with the other children? You came quite early on. What did English kids think of you all at school, and how did they treat you?
I think mostly we got on well with them, right? Obviously, there were minor issues with some of them, right?
They definitely picked on us.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to know. What was that like? Every day you go to school and people would call you names, or what was that experience like?
Basically, what happened was we tried to basically, you avoid those particular people as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right? And in reality, there was nothing you could do about it because we were physically smaller than the English kids. Right? and therefore it wasn't too bad. But we tried to avoid wherever there was, we just avoid that area.
Yeah.
Right? But even then, you couldn't really avoid anything because they picked on us, and therefore you did not react to it.
Well, yeah, I think because we were very few people, Indian people in the whole of the school, and there was only a few other Indians other than us. There was only a handful of families in Leamington Spa at that time, but there were some other people in Leamington, so we got on with them as well.
Okay.
But at the same time, the English people, majority of them, we actually got on really well with them. But the surprising thing about it was, I remember actually having an experience of racial abuse from some English people, very few people, but they had a bully who was from the West Indies, and he was actually joined because he was a big bully. He actually was supporting the English people, and he used to pick on us, and he used to call us wogs. Yeah. And he was a West Indian himself.
Yeah.
And but that was like a handful of people. But a majority of the people, we actually got on really well with them, and they were always inquisitive and asking what's India like and things like that. And
Yeah.
because I think because there were less Indians there at that time, it made us harder work to learn the English so quickly. And if there had been a lot of Indians there, then we probably would have been just talking to the Indians all the time. So
Yeah.
that made us actually learn quicker.
Yeah.
And from a teaching perspective, I ask this to everybody. Randhir, Raghbir, Gian doesn't flow off of the tongue, not of the English tongue. So, what were your names in school then? What did they convert your names to?
You're absolutely right. This happened to me every time I used to go to. They used to say, "What's your name?" And I used to say, "Raghbir Kanwar." And they say, "How do you say it again?" So I said it again. So I told you about 3 times, and they said, "Can you spell it?" I said, "Yes." So I say Raghbir. I say, "Oh, Raghbir." And my name got converted to Raghbir. But Gian, brother Paji, that's an easy name. So Gian wasn't too difficult. It's an easier name to say.
I don't know. Gian was a little bit difficult because what they did was they actually changed it to sometimes Gian.
Yeah.
Instead of saying Gian, they actually changed it to Gian or Gian.
And Paji, Randhir, what was Randhir then? Was Randhir or?
No, my name was Randhir all the time.
No, Randhir
Even now. You go to Jaguar Land Rover, wherever you go, is it me? I'm a Randhir, not Randhir anymore.
Randhir. Okay.
Because then they won't get the pronunciation right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no point in fighting the system.
Yeah.
Actually saying that, when I was in shop, somebody walked into my shop once, and he said to me, "Hello, Raghbir." And I had a shock. And I said, "Not many people say that." And he said, "You taught me that when we were at school together." And he came after many years, and he actually said it right. And I couldn't believe it.
Just sort of touching on, you talked about racism and problems at school. And Davina, sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here, but your mother came over. She probably didn't speak any English, didn't have the opportunity to speak English, not early days anyway. And your father from the military. What was their experiences of racism and general cultural awareness?
My father obviously worked what they call Lockheed, which was a very large concern manufacturing place in Leamington. And I remember him relating to me sometimes that his manager sometimes used to say words to him, and then my father would turn around to him and he said, "Can you remember the black hole of Calcutta?"
Mm.
Right? So there was obviously some racism at that time, right? And but generally, obviously the earlier people came. I mean, they had to work in manufacturing anyway.
Mm.
Yeah.
And your mother, what was your mother doing at the time? Because again, I can't imagine a lot of Indian women.
Well, right. What happened with my mother? She obviously knew a little bit of a Punjabi. She didn't know any English, nothing. I mean, she learned to sign her name in English later on, but uh, because we came earlier on, and obviously my father had bought a house before we came, and then they needed to support the family. So she was the first woman to work outside. In Leamington, and she worked in a laundry. And our Indian people, were not happy about and a Punjabi lady working outside. So she was the first one to work outside.
In fact, there was an incident, I remember. There were people used to say, we're not going to send our ladies to work at all, ever. Right? Later on, their wives worked as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think what really happened later on was when the Ugandan Asians came over. And when they came over, most of those ladies actually started, they used to work. Their English was good and they get the jobs. So I think then the rest of the Punjabi ladies were looking at those other ladies working and they would progress more. And then they started applying for jobs as well.
No, Uganda people came much later.
I think the Kenyan people came. People came from Kenya, and that's in the early 60s, and that started changing it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Davina, one thing I like to relate to you, going back a little bit, we missed one thing when you asked me what was your journey like from India to UK. We came on a train and from Heathrow, and we were all sitting in in the train compartment, and I remember, we all remember this actually. There was a guy with a bowler hat, and he must have seen an Indian family for the first time. The train stopped somewhere, and he actually went outside and bought some chocolate, a box of chocolates, and brought it to the kids. Gave it to me. And it was so lovely. You never forget it. I was talking to my sister earlier on, and she was relating that.
That's so nice, because we haven't heard many stories where as soon as people arrive, they're shown a really welcoming and kind atmosphere. So that's a really lovely sentiment.
And there was another story she related to me earlier on. My sister called Satish, yeah? She lives in London, but she was saying, I went with them to Canterbury and with mum and dad. And there was an English lady, and she saw us, and she came over and to my mother, and she said, I wanted to shake your hands, because she never shaken her hand with somebody from outside.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like a middle class or upper class lady, and she came and did that, because my mother actually didn't look like in Punjabi. I mean, everybody used to think she was Italian, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's another story, similar, right?
Actually, that reminds me of another story earlier on, because there weren't many Indians at that time, and we had to learn as much English as we possibly could. And my younger sister, because she actually learned English a little bit before we came, and she picked up a lot of the the carols singing at Christmas time.
Yeah.
The whole family of us, were going to go to visit some people in Leicester, and we're going to catch a train. and we were at the train station, and it was icy snow, and there were English people there. I think we were the only Indian family there, and they said, "Why don't you sing carols?" And my sister knew quite a few carols, and I had picked up a few as well, but she knew more than I did. And we all started, the kids especially, we all got together and sang carols to the English people, and they loved it. And they all brought us chocolates to us for all the kids. That was really, it was unbelievable. It was really good experience.
Yeah, that's quite funny. In terms of living in England, especially for the first couple of years, what did you really struggle to adapt to? Obviously, there's difference in the weather, there's difference in the people and the culture and music. What was specific to you that you thought, God, this is really hard to get to grips with?
To be honest with you, I didn't understand English music.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy the Indian music, even now. So that's nothing to new, but obviously I enjoy the English music now, much later. But in reality, the house we lived was relatively very small. It was like a 2-bedroom house. And obviously it was very cold indeed. And I don't know what else you can say.
Well, it was very, in those days, we didn't have central heating in the houses. We used to have a fire, a coal fire. And I remember we used to go to school. It doesn't matter how much snowed. You might have, 30 centimeters of snow outside. You still had to go to school. So we used to go to school, come back, and then in the evening, when having come back, we would light a fire, and then we'd sit in the dining room, all of us around, trying to warm ourselves up. And the bedrooms were cold.
Yeah.
And did that ever make you think, oh my God, look how lucky we were back in India, right? We didn't have the weather problems, we didn't have this problems, or did you think this was still...
No, not really.
It wasn't a single thing you missed?
I don't think we related
I didn't miss anything as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed it when I was in my young age. When I was even 11 or 12, I think the snow was the first time I ever saw it, and I made a snowman right outside our house, in between the alleyway between the rest of the houses, and I made it right in the middle, and the snowman was about the size of, probably bigger than me, and it started melting away slowly. I thought, oh, it's going to go now. On that night, it froze. It became more colder. I can't believe it. It lasted 3 months. Not nowadays it wouldn't, but it lasted.
The problem is now the climate's changed totally. In those days, it actually used to snow and snow. When it was Christmas, you knew it was going to snow.
What did you think the first time that you saw snow? Like, had you heard about it before, or was it just like, what is this falling from the sky?
You're right.
No, we didn't. I didn't know snow before, but all I can say is looked lovely.
Yeah.
Actually, nowadays I usually say God is sending us white flowers from heaven.
Did you expect it to be cold and all that kind of stuff? Like, I can't imagine not.
No, not this cold. It used to be colder at that time than today's weather. It's a bit like today, so cold. That's how it used to be. Yeah. But a lot more snow.
Yeah. So when you left school, obviously all in different years, what did you go on to do?
Can I say before you go to this subject?
Yes.
Right. What we found was the headmasters of each school was excellent.
Yeah. Which schools were they?
Sorry?
Which schools what were the names of the schools that you went to?
We went to Clapham Terrace first.
Yep.
Aylesford School second, and Leamington College for boys,
Okay.
right? And the first, the very first one, what happened was the headmaster at Clapham Terrace, he bought special books for us to educate the family.
Oh, that's so nice.
Excellent,
Yeah.
right? And he bought the books for my mother as well, right? In order to to progress the Holy Family forward. We then moved to Aylesford School for our secondary school, and even there the headmaster, I can't remember his name,
Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott, and he was excellent as well. And then I was the head boy over there.
Wow.
Right. So, and Gian then went from Aylesford School to Leamington College for boys, and I was left alone over there. And 2 years afterward, I went to the Leamington College for boys as well to do my A levels as well.
Then after that, Raghbir went.
Followed.
And then Satish, my sister, she was at a different school. She went to Campion. And then she transferred to Leamington College for Girls, which was the grammar school later. And then she went on to university. And I went to university first to do mechanical engineering. And 2 years later, Randhir actually left. And he joined Loughborough University as well to do mechanical engineering. And Raghbir went into business studies.
So you've all been to university?
Yeah, my sister went to Cale University.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And where did you study?
Where? Sorry?
Where did
University.
both of you?
You're talking about?
Yeah, both of us.
Both of us.
Two brothers went to Loughborough University.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that quite nice having your brother at university at the same time with you? Or was it annoying?
It was fabulous. I was following his footsteps.
Yeah.
He was watching. He was looking out after you, looking out for you.
That's it. We never saw each other.
Well, we were in different halls, yeah?
Yeah.
The
That's,
funny thing is that as they left Loughborough University, Brother Gian joined AP, and then as the second brother Randhir, when he left university, Loughborough University, he also joined AP. So one of them went into specializing on the clutch division, and the other one started on the brakes division. So they stayed there all their time there.
It's quite interesting, actually, just picking on that topic where you now educated in the UK, go to AP. Now, a lot of the interviews we've been doing, there was the thing about the Indian who comes in with education, MAs, BAs, whatever. They couldn't go beyond the shop floor. They couldn't get into the white collar work.
I'll answer that question. In fact, I can assure you that what you're saying is quite effective, really, because I went because of working at AP, right, and I went down to the shop floor, right, and I saw one of the guys basically cleaning the floor up, and he was graduate from India, right, and I was the only person, you must say, in the offices. Indian, in particular bit of it. And trouble is you can't do much about it, because because there were very discriminating people over there, very much.
I mean, obviously, having left university, we joined AP or Lockheed or Brakes or whatever, and I joined as a graduate trainee. So I was the first one to join into the company at that time, and then Randhir followed the same. So we joined as graduate trainees, and then I moved into what we call Borgenbach, which is the clutch division, and Randhir eventually moved into Lockheed, which is the brakes division. So that's where we were, and then progressed from there within the company.
Hmm. Okay. And would you say, again, this is because people said Lockheed was more racist than Ford, because there's many cases where people said, you know what, Ford was a nice place to work at. Lockheed was less accommodating, although quite a few of our people did work in Lockheed, right? Did you get that vibe, or was that just hearsay?
To answer your question, the answer was yes. They were very anti-racist, right? And it was something you had to accept. Either you reject it or accept it. What do? You know what I mean? And because little later on, I used to work on special projects, right? And one time we were every 2 weeks I used to travel to Ford Dunton. This is Basildon, right? And one day we were sitting in our car, and my manager was with me, right? And he said, Randhir, he said, we put you in design, you're excellent. We put you in production, you're excellent. We put you in quality, you're excellent. How come you have not gone up the tree? And I turned around to him in the car and he said, Can you see the color of my skin? Right? And that gave you the impression why we didn't go up.
Well, we did manage to go up. I'm not saying we haven't. I mean, within AP, I didn't manage to go up when I was responsible for 12 engineers.
Yes.
Right? Within the section. They were qualified engineers. So, I mean, it was difficult actually, trying to manage those English guys, and you had to be better than them to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And did you have to change your cultural perspective as well? Because culture was, I mean, I don't know whether you established, drinking, eating, wining, dining, or were you still very much traditional Indian cultures where you don't drink, you don't eat meat, you don't do this?
I happened to be a vegetarian when I came, and I had to change. But when I used to, because later on, after I was in charge of the section, but I then moved on to what we call forward projects, where we were responsible for buying plant, machinery, and obviously you went out with other people, right? Okay, if I've gone to Germany, right, and we were buying quite a lot of heat treatment plant and other things from there, then you had to join with them. But we never actually ate beef in that sense, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we kept a control, and later on probably we all become pretty well vegetarians, as a result of our kids are all vegetarians.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When you were working, what was the culture like outside of work? So we've come on quite a bit from when you first came. Could you listen to Indian music on the radio, or was there anything that you could sort of incorporate Indian culture into your life when you weren't at work?
Indian culture, yeah, we did. I mean, we obviously, Raghbir will remember. We had we used to hire a hall for on a Sunday for for a Hindu ceremony, whatever, right? So it was quite interesting, actually. We did keep our culture alive. I don't know whether Raghbir wants to put input into that.
Well, the funny thing about it on that one is that we all, the funny thing that what happened was the Sikh community first used the Kingsway Community Centre for their Sunday meetings, for the Gurdwara type of meetings like that, for religious purposes. When they moved on, and so there was some West Indies who took over that same place. And when they moved on, and then there came a time then the Hindu community was quite a few. There weren't that many here. There was only about 1,000 people at that time. So we said, let's get together and let's have some Hindu community get together and have some Hindu mandir type of meetings together. So we did a once a month program at the community center, the same place. I said, it must have been a very good place because all the different religions took part there. And now it's flats now. But now the Hindu mandirs we got our own mandir, and the Gurdwara got their Gurdwara as well. So that community has gone up really well. And but it was good because we kept the culture, and then it grew, and then we used to do every year we used to do Diwali programs and things like that, make it into culture. And then at one time, nowadays, we used to be the Sikh community and the Hindu community, we all get together and do the cultural program of our Diwali, which is a wonderful thing to do. It worked really well.
So that was the religious functions. What about the other social functions? You know, nowadays you have, you know, Bhangra rave here, Bhangra rave there. What was your entertainment? Did you guys sort of band together, or friends of yours and said we're going to have a Punjabi sing song? You know, or something like that. Did that ever take place?
No, we did not.
No?
No, I don't think so. We had anything like that at all. And even up to the, you know, way up to the university level, right?
But in the university, we did have Indian association, right? And we were quite involved at that time. But I mean, Bhangra and things like that never happened in the university. It came after.
But not even Bhangra. You know, like, I mean, I know. Okay, I'm not as old as yourself, but when we went to university even here, we still got the old Tolki out and try to be singers, or try to be Muhammad Rafi or Kishore Kumar. Yeah.
I think our university days were very, very different. I mean, you know, the food was very different. It was nothing like this. I mean, when we came to UK, you know, the food, I mean, the choice you get now, there used to be one corner shop run by an Englishman, and we used to go and buy from there. There was nothing much available in those days. So later on, obviously, as I said, even the university food was difficult, actually.
Horrible.
You know, I was a vegetarian, you know, and they didn't know what a vegetarian was.
Wow.
You know, and I think the culture, obviously things moved on, you know, a little later, you know, a lot more people came in. Yes, things have changed dramatically.
As the community got older and older, a lot of the Indian community, they started forming cultural things. And I remember when I was at college, we actually obviously joined our association, the Indians. So all the Indians used to get together from, say, Afton University, and we used to make our Asian programs. And the University of Birmingham would do their program. And when they would do it, so sometimes they would invite the Aston University people over there. And when we do our program, at the Birmingham University, when they do it, then they invite us, and vice versa. So we used to join like that. And we did have cultural programs like that, developed into the whole of the community.
And where did you stay? I mean, I know you when you first settled. Which street did you move into?
South.
Your house was?
Terrace. South Terrace.
Which one? Sorry.
It's called South Terrace.
South Terrace.
It used to be called Chapel Lane. And
Sorry, I didn't get that. But your street where you guys stayed when you first came from India, your father bought the house. What street was it?
In Windrush.
It's called South Terrace now.
What was the house?
It's called.
It's called South Terrace.
It was called South Terrace.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you know where the Heathrow, the Heathcote, not the pub, not the Plough and Arrow pub is.
Yeah.
If you turn left and immediately right up the hill, straight away, facing the Heathcote Road, That's where South Terrace is. There's only about 15 or 16 houses there.
I'll have to check that one out.
It's actually changed its name.
From
It used to be called Chapel Yard or something, right?
Chapel Lane.
Or Chapel Lane, right? And then it changed to South Terrace.
Okay, all right, we'll look out for it. Yeah.
In terms of the community, and especially like the Hindu community, do you think that you've contributed a lot to its formation and the way that it's ran now? Were you very involved with that? Do you want to talk about that?
I was involved in the community relations themselves as community relations, and at one point, some of the Hindu community people, we got together, and I was one of the founder members of the Hindu community, and we actually got the constitution also written by the community relation officer, Mr. Maipuri, who was quite a figure in the whole of our community. So we got the constitution done by him, and then we started forming the Hindu Association in Leamington, which is built up to, which is quite a good place now. Yeah. So I was quite proud to be involved at that time.
Just answer takes you a little bit further. The Hindu one probably got formed around about 26 years ago, right? And then at one point, Raghbir did become the chairman of that you know, for the Mandir for 1 year. And for later on, I'm one of the trustees of the Mandir, so I do still have some active role. I still play.
But you've been, quite heavily involved with the setting up of that. How many people now would you say are in the Hindu community in Leamington, roughly?
Hindu community, I'm not sure. I think somebody looked on the website. There are not that many, probably about 400. But the thing is, we have a lot of Hindu community people from all these youngsters who coming from Tata,
Jaguar
Land Rover, they're all there are a lot of youngsters living in Leamington, and they come to the Mandir, especially, when it was open on Tuesday nights, or when they wanted to do Ganesh Visarjan and other functions. So it's expanded itself to cater for that community as well, for all those youngsters.
Yeah.
I think when we first started the Hindu community, we counted about 1,000 Hindus in the Leamington area at the time. That's including the family, children as well. But I would say if you get that figure now, that's about 26 years ago. I would think it's about probably more likely to be now at least 5,000 altogether, including the children and the parents.
How many?
I would think about 4,000 to 5,000.
No.
I'm not taking families. I'm talking about the children and parents counted together.
All right.
There will be, if you and then nowadays, because like you just suggested, that Land Rover Jaguar people coming over, and they got their own. They remember the culture from there. They bring it here, and they actually use it in the temple. And the temple, before the COVID, it used to be actually get packed really well.
Yeah.
Very, very, very popular now. But now because of the COVID, they can't join in at the moment like that.
Yeah.
But it has grown quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got sort of five minutes left. So I want to finish by talking about how.
Can I just ask for just one? Sorry, because we've talked about the two elder brothers who have been very much in AP and engineering. The younger brother didn't go to AP, right? And did you go straight into business?
Yeah, in a way. Funny thing happened when I was doing A level. I kept on thinking about applying for aeronautical engineering, and I went to interviews as well at the University of Brunel and things like that. But I don't know, somehow in about March or April time, I just happened to change my mind, and I say I don't fancy being in an office drawing parts of cars or something like that, or aeroplanes. I like to join people. I like socializing more, and I'd like to be outgoing. And so I said, I think maybe I'll go into business. So I went to do business studies in Birmingham, and I did
What
that for
happened
2
with
years.
that one? Obviously, you joined the business studies, and then you came and joined the business. And the business got opened just before that in 1969. When we came back from university, and we were at AP, and then we saw a little shop in Clement Street, and we opened that shop for Mum. And Mum was really worried about how she going to run that shop. And, you know, we managed, we kept the English lady on, and Mother actually opened our shop at that time. That's how. And then later on, obviously, we expanded the business, and Raghbir came in, and then we expanded the shops.
I actually was in Birmingham, and part of my course was to join a big store and have the experience of doing the actual business. So I stayed 6 months in what they called Lewis's, and
Yep.
had 6 departmental stores in all over England, and one of them was in Birmingham, very big store, and I worked there into different departments for 6 months, and then they said to me, we would like you to go into the managerial course. And at the same time, I was being called, they said, why don't you come and join Leamington? We got the big shop already open. You can start to do that. But I learned quite a lot over there, how the business was being done, and the ideas and how to sell. And I used those ideas in my shop. And we expanded that shop from 1969. And 2 years later, we got the bigger shop, which went into called Chez Rama, and now that has been going over 50 years in Leamington. And luckily, we were the first. I think we were the first Indians to have a clothes shop in Leamington, and we were also the first ones to do the school uniform, the Asian community, to do the school uniform for most of the schools. So we did have our good times there. But now, obviously, we're going to be wanting to close.
Over to you now, Davina. That was what I wanted to get.
So almost coming full circle then. Obviously now we're in COVID and you can't travel, but sorry.
I want to add one more thing on that,
Yeah.
and that was when we first started. Actually, we bought a small van, and some friend of ours said, "Why don't you start sort of business, and then that will pay your petrol?" So we used to go to a warehouse in Birmingham, who the person suggested to us. So we bought a few things at a time, and we then started a round in Leamington, house to house, knocking, only on Saturday and Sunday. We actually knocked on people's doors and said, would you like to buy something? And that, within 2 years, the whole of our front room was actually full of clothes and shirts and materials and things like that. Then we needed a shop, and we then progressed into Clement Street. We bought a baby wear shop, and that's how it started. And things progressed from that one onwards.
Yeah.
That was good.
Davina,
Yes.
I'd like to say something. I mean, I know you probably very short of time, right?
No, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, I saw my parents, how they supported us, you know, where they were and where we went, you know, and okay, it wasn't easy, it was hard, you know, and then obviously as parents, you try to do the best for your kids, you know, that's our Indian culture, right?
Yeah.
We actually do go out of our way to support our kids, and do the best for them as well. So in the same way, I remember what my parents did. I remember what my grandparents probably did for my parents, yeah, and what we do for our own kids, and what our kids do for their kids, yeah. So this is a culture, I think, probably we stand by.
Yeah, that's really lovely. And I think that's sort of kind of linking to what I want to ask next is, now that you've obviously
I do tell my grandchildren, I say we must not forget our past, where we were, where we are, and and you need you need to be there, need to carry on.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're trying to do with the website as well, is so that we've got, these really important stories that you're telling us down forever, and we're never going to lose them now because we've made sure that we've kept them. But I want to ask now, do you think when you go back to India, do you think, oh, I've come back home, or do you think that England's home, or do you like both as home? Like how do you feel towards that? Because it's quite complicated.
No, it's quite easy because we think England is home,
Yeah.
right? And in fact, we go there for holidays to meet people, etc., and so on, and you come back, right?
And do you miss things about England when you go to India?
We only go there for 3-4 weeks, so let's not do that. No?
Do you go back and do you take your grandchildren and your children, or is it just now because it's a maternal home?
I haven't taken my well, I did go once with our grandchildren, that's a long time ago. That's going back. But not really. I've been with my kids, that's quite a while ago before they got married, right? When they were at university, right? So I did go back with them.
To be honest with you, we don't have a house over there, not even a brick.
You got the whole army barracks.
The thing is, with our family, there was one of the questions, where's our family? Our family is spread around the world, basically. You name it almost, within, we got people in Paris, we got people in Canada, America, UK, Australia, Singapore,
They're all spread.
So our family, that's our immediate family, which has got spread that far.
Yeah. Wow. And to close then, do you have, what are you really proud of? What makes you happy? What kind of remark do you want to finish with?
What do we want to finish with? I don't know. We've obviously, this is a difficult one. We've done our bit, and we've obviously, the kids are in there, whatever they're doing, are in good position, and they look after the family. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Worked hard on there.
We shall be.
Okay. No, I think that's fine, Davina. I don't think we need to sort of finish on that one. Is there any other final statement, Davina, you want to make? Where are we going with? Sorry, Raghbir's about to say something.
That our children do take our grandchildren to India and see them, visit there and go around as well, and they really enjoy it. So that's the nice thing about it. I'm glad that even the grandchildren also do enjoy India, and they have lived there as well, and that I think is good, and that's good to keep, especially for the future, as India is coming up, going to be the #1.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. Okay, no, that was good. I think Davina, you can probably stop recording. You know.